Good evening and welcome to the news roundup for Monday, February 13. I am Abigail Smythe. Among the stories in this evening's newscast, the UWI student who held and tortured his girlfriend charged with assault. 41-year-old man accused of having sex with a minor fatally shot at his home in Clarendon. 26-year-old woman and her 7-year-old daughter burned to death in house fire in St. Anne. Another Sagicor Bank employee slapped with fraud charges. Clarendon police raised concern about increase in sexual assault of minors in the parish. In business, the Financial Times of London hails Jamaica's economic turnaround as bordering on being a miracle. In the region, PAHO issues alert about possible re-establishment of endemic transmission of measles. Further overseas, U.S. fighter jet shoots down unidentified object over Lake Huron, North America. And in sports, West Indies women off to a not-so-good start at the ICC T20 World Cup.
Teach them! Always make sure the message reach them!
Now for the news in detail. A policeman was shot and killed today during an alleged robbery in Seaforth, St. Thomas. The policeman has been identified as Mark Anthony Forsyth. The incident occurred around 3 p.m. The cop was pronounced dead at hospital. The St. Thomas Criminal Investigations Branch is currently probing the incident, and we will have more details in subsequent newscasts. The police have identified the male student who allegedly tortured his girlfriend in his room on the University of the West Indies Mona campus. He is 20-year-old Matthew Hyde of Braemar Avenue, Kingston. Hyde has been charged with assault occasioning grievous bodily harm. Reports are that between Monday, February 6 and Thursday, February 9, Hyde held his 19-year-old ex-girlfriend captive in his dormitory. The young woman was reportedly tortured. The police say Hyde repeatedly beat her and burned her with a clothes iron all over her body. Investigations revealed that the young couple had a disagreement concerning their relationship. It is understood that Hyde interrogated the woman for hours while the torture continued. The police say as investigations continue, other charges are being considered, including under the Cybercrimes Act. It has been revealed that Hyde took photos of the captive woman while she was naked. A friend reportedly queried the woman's whereabouts on Wednesday, but was allegedly told by the male student that she was sick. On Thursday, a university official reportedly sought to make contact with her to advise that a roommate was selected for her double room, but she could not be reached by phone. Sometime after 10 Thursday night, security teams went to the dorm after receiving a report from a friend. It is reported that when she was found, she was not bound but was locked in. Hallmates have been left shocked as details emerged of what has transpired amid them and without their suspicion, as they believed the young woman was confined to the room because she was ill. The university has also confirmed that disciplinary proceedings have been initiated against the man. The incident comes amid what officials have acknowledged as an uptick in intimate partner violence cases on the St. Andrew-based campus. Operations at the Registrar General Department, RGD, have been disrupted island-wide as dozens of employees have been calling in sick. The sick-out is over the public sector compensation review exercise. Workers at the RGD are represented by the Jamaica Civil Service Association, GCSA. President of the GCSA, O'Neill Grant, says the workers are disgruntled about the outcome of their alignment under the new compensation review exercise. He says it is unclear how many workers are out sick. He says a meeting will be held with the workers following an update from the Ministry of Finance. The Registrar Department is responsible for registering births, stillbirths, deaths, adoptions, marriages, and deed polls. Gunmen wreaked havoc across several police divisions over the weekend, leaving more than a dozen people dead. It is understood that at least 14 murders have been committed since Saturday. Several other persons were left with gunshot wounds. 8 of the murders were recorded yesterday. In one of the attacks, 2 men were shot, one fatally, in Churchill Flankers, St. James, Saturday night. The deceased has been identified as 27-year-old Christopher Mowat, a shopkeeper of Churchill Flankers. A 27-year-old recording artist was also injured in the incident. It is reported that about 8 p.m., the 2 men were standing in the community when they were shot by a lone gunman who escaped in a waiting motor car. The Kingston Western Police are probing the circumstances surrounding the death of a man whose body was found inside a car on Port Royal Street, Kingston, Saturday night. The deceased is of dark complexion, slim build, about 5 feet 10 inches tall, and sported a neatly groomed dreadlocks hairstyle. The body was clad in a grey hooded sweater with Baltimore Ravens written on the front, white jeans, and black Nike-branded sneakers. About 11:30 p.m., a police team on patrol in the area was alerted to a Toyota Probox motor car. Upon their arrival, the body was seen inside the trunk of the vehicle with multiple stab wounds. The scene was processed and the body removed to the morgue. Investigators from the Denhamtown Criminal Investigations Branch, CIB, are probing the incident. Anyone with information that may be able to assist the police in their investigations is asked to contact the Denhamtown CIB at 876-948-6443, Police 119 emergency number, or Crime Stop at 311. A 41-year-old man who was accused of having sex with a minor was fatally shot at his home in Raymond's District Hayes in Clarendon Saturday night. According to a police source, about 10:45, Sion Juba Copeland had just arrived home and went to the back of his house to fetch water when neighbors heard what they believed to be gunshots. They summoned the police. Upon the arrival of the police, they found Copeland on his back in a pool of blood with gunshot wounds to his head and upper body. Police sources say preliminary investigations have shown that a report was made against Copeland earlier this month in a case of alleged sexual intercourse with a person under 16. It is alleged that his sexual activity with the child began last October. Investigations into his death are ongoing. And police are probing the death of a Kingston baker at his home Sunday morning. The deceased has been identified as 43-year-old Horatio Sailors of Lincoln Road, Kingston 5. It was reported that around 5:50 a.m., residents of the same address were inside their various homes when they heard loud explosions sounding like gunshots and summoned the police. Upon the arrival of the lawmen, they found the now deceased suffering from what appeared to be gunshot wounds to the face and upper body. He was taken to the Kingston Public Hospital where he was pronounced dead. Police found 5 spent shells at the scene. No motive has been established for the attack. The police have released the identity of a man killed in a shootout with cops who were responding to the alleged robbery of a National Commercial Bank ABM on Saturday in Westmoreland. Dead is 51-year-old Dave Anthony McKenzie, a mechanic of Hibiscus Avenue in Highgate, St. Mary. The police say a Glock pistol with a magazine containing 4 rounds of ammunition was seized. The matter was reported to the Independent Commission of Investigations and the Inspectorate of Professional Standards and Oversight Bureau of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. The shooting took place along the Landilo Main about 3:50 a.m. Parish Commander, Senior Superintendent of Police Wayne Josephs, reported on Saturday that police intercepted the alleged robbers who were trying to escape. This is the 3rd incident in recent weeks involving money dispensing machines. On February 2, an ATM was stolen from Jameson's service station in Darliston in Westmoreland. It was recovered later that day, but the $8 million that it reportedly contained was not found. News also came on February 2 that a JN Bank ATM was vandalized in Spalding, Clarendon overnight. However, the police say no money was taken. A 26-year-old woman and her her 7-year-old daughter were burnt to death in a house fire in the Cardiff Hall community in Runaway Bay, St. Anne, Sunday morning. It is reported that about 10 o'clock, fire was seen coming from the 2-story house. The fire brigade was summoned to extinguish the blaze, and following cooling down operations, the charred remains of Shelley-Ann Hamilton and her child were found. It is reported that Miss Hamilton, who lived overseas, returned to the island 2 weeks ago. 3 teenagers were shot, one fatally, during an attack by a gunman at Breadfruit Tree in Pineapple Place, Ocho Rios, St. Anne, Friday evening. The dead man has been identified as 18-year-old Kyle Dunn from Pineapple Place. The 2 injured persons, both males, are from St. Mary addresses. It was reported that around 8:10 p.m., all 3 were standing in a family yard with other persons when they were approached by a man armed with a handgun who opened fire on them. When the shooting subsided, Dunn and the other 2 teens were seen suffering from gunshot wounds. All 3 were rushed to hospital, where Dunn, who was shot in the left side of his chest, died while being treated, and the other 2 males admitted. The Clarendon police have raised concern about the increase in sexual assault of minors in the parish. Commanding Officer Superintendent Carlos Russell is appealing to men to, quote, leave the little girls alone, end quote, adding that too many babies are being molested by adults. Superintendent Russell says there have been community interventions through the Center for the Investigation of Sexual Offenses and Child Abuse, CISOCA, to sensitize residents about the crimes. Superintendent Russell notes that in many cases the perpetrators are not strangers to the children. In light of that, he is urging mothers to be careful of who they leave their children with, since the perpetrators sometimes reside in the same household. In the meantime, Jamaica Labour Party councillor for the Maypen North Division, Tanya Lee Williams, is also raising concerns about gang members buggering young boys as a form of initiation, then using the shame associated with the abuse to keep their victims in the clique. She says parents who may have knowledge of the abuse are too afraid to speak up. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, has expressed alarm at an increase in the number of suicides in Jamaica, with the majority of these tragic deaths being among older men. The JCF says this rise in suicides must raise serious concerns among health officials, families, and communities throughout the country. According to police data, there were 27 reported suicides during the 3 months, November to January, a significant increase compared with previous years. Of the number, 23 were men, with the majority being over the age of 40. The JCF is calling for greater attention to mental health and suicide prevention in Jamaica. The police say 14 reported suicides were recorded for the month of January. This is in comparison with 3 for the corresponding month in 2022 and 2021, and 1 in January 2020. 10 suicides were recorded December last year, compared with 7 for the corresponding month in 2021 and 3 in 2020. A further examination of the figures revealed that of the 10 suicides in December, 5 were among men from St. Anne, but among the 14 suicides registered in January this year, St. Anne was the only parish where there was no registered case. And the latest serious crime statistics from the Jamaica Constabulary Force indicate that all major categories of crime are down in Jamaica. As at February 12, murders were down 26.6% year on year. The police say there were 138 murders on record, down 50 from the 188 recorded for the period in 2022. The West Kingston Police Division, with some sections currently under curfew order, tops the list with 20 murders, a 33.3% increase year on year. The curfew began 6 p.m. Saturday and will remain in effect until 6 p.m. Tuesday, February 14. The top 5 murderous divisions are rounded out by St. James with 16, Clarendon 15, and St. Thomas and Westmoreland with 11 each. Portland and Trelawney are the only divisions with no murders recorded. Shootings, injuring, rape, robbery, and break-ins also declined year on year. And the police are reporting that another employee of Sagicor Bank has been charged with fraud. It is reported that 26-year-old Tishan Samuels, a client care officer at Sagicor, was arrested and charged by fraud squad detectives on Thursday. She was charged for the offenses of larceny as a servant, conspiracy to defraud, and access with the intent to commit or facilitate the commission of an offense. Reports are that between July and August of 2022, Samuels allegedly conspired with other persons to defraud the bank of just over 65 million Jamaican dollars. She was offered bail with surety in the sum of 1 million Jamaican dollars. Samuels is to appear before the Corporate Area Criminal Court on Tuesday, February 21. Recently, two other now former employees of the bank, Trisha Moulton and her sister Alicia Moulton White, were also charged in connection with fraud committed at the bank. In business, the very influential and respected newspaper, the Financial Times of London, is hailing Jamaica's economic turnaround as bordering on being a miracle. The Financial Times described Jamaica's economic turnaround as, quote, from an economy circling the drain in 2013 to an improbable escape and impressive recovery by 2019, end quote. Jamaica, like much of the world, has been rocked by the twin catastrophes of COVID-19 and the Russian invasion of Ukraine. This has resulted in soaring prices and a slowdown in the global economy. The International Monetary Fund's executive directors commended the Holness administration's strong track record of building institutions and prioritizing macroeconomic stability, which, together with a nimble and prudent policy response, helped Jamaica navigate the pandemic and other recent global shocks successfully. The Financial Times says this is as close as the IMF comes to giving a standing ovation. According to the Financial Times, Jamaica has moved from a peak debt to GDP ratio of 147% in 2013, one of the highest in the world, to about 86% at the end of last year. And by 2025, it should be reduced further to 71%. It says this is as close as a miracle as you're ever likely to see. And in the region, the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, has issued an alert urging countries of the Americas, including the Caribbean, to update their response plans to prevent the reestablishment of endemic transmission of measles. The alert comes following a reduction in childhood vaccination coverage, increasing the possibility for outbreaks of the disease. According to PAHO's Technical Advisory Group on Vaccines, the risk of outbreaks of vaccine-preventable diseases in the region is at its highest point in the last 30 years. PAHO estimates that in 2021, more than 1.7 million children in 28 countries and territories of the Americas did not receive an initial dose of measles vaccine by their first birthday. It says regional coverage for the first dose of measles, mumps, and rubella MMR vaccine that year was 85%. Only 6 countries reached the recommended level of 95% or more needed to sustain elimination of these diseases, and 10 countries reported coverage of less than 80%. And on the international scene, a U.S. fighter jet shot down an unidentified object over Lake Huron on Sunday on orders from President Joe Biden. It's believed to be the same one tracked over Montana and monitored by the government beginning the night before. It was the 4th object shot out of the sky by U.S. fighter jets in 8 days, along with ones over Alaska and Canada and a suspected Chinese spy balloon. Pentagon officials have said they do not know when the last shoot-down of an unknown or unauthorized object over U.S. territory occurred before this spate of incidents. U.S. authorities have made it clear that they constantly monitor for unknown radar blips, and it is not unusual to shut down airspace as a precaution to evaluate them. But the unusually assertive response was raising questions about whether such use of force was warranted, particularly as administration officials said the objects were not of great national security concern and the downings were just out of caution. The extraordinary air defense activity began in late January when a white orb, the officials said was from China, appeared over the U.S. and hovered above the nation for days before fighter jets downed it off the coast of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And in sports, the West Indies women are off to a less than ideal start at the ICC T20 World Cup in South Africa after a crushing 7-wicket defeat. The Windies women were beaten by 2009 champions England in their Group B opener on Saturday. Electing to bat, the West Indies got off to a good start as captain Hayley Matthews, 42 from 32 balls, and Stephanie Taylor, 3, added 47 runs for the first wicket. The pair, however, fell 22 runs apart. Charmaine Campbell, 34, and Chanel Henry, 14, also added useful runs as the Caribbean side posted 135 for 7. The West Indies will next oppose India on Wednesday before their clash with Ireland on Friday and will close out the group stages against Pakistan next Sunday. The Windies must finish in the top 2 positions in the group to advance to the semi-finals. And that's it for your news roundup for today. I am Abigail Smythe. Have a good evening and see you next time.
Teach them! Hey, yo, hello! Send the message and make it reach them. It's Teach Them, right here. Warlord representing.
Thank you for watching. Like the video before you go. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. And remember to share the video with your friends and family. And browse the channel for more quality content. Until next time, walk good, my friends.
Teach them!